Hang on, Harry. What's that alarm? It says here, the Football Natter Series 2.
Haven't you heard? It's coming back.
With a new theme tune.
Yeah.
This is the Football Natter. It is good to be back. It's been a long couple of weeks, but it's a new year. It's a new series of the Football Natter. Thank you for joining us again. We've missed this, me and Harry. We've missed you. So thank you for coming and listening to this new series. It's going to be bigger and better than ever. So to kick us off with what we're going to talk about this week, Harry, tell the listeners.
Well, we have the Spygate scandal at Leeds United, transfer news, and finally, previews for the Premier League.
So, earlier last week, I think it was, Leeds United were found to have, well, Marcelo Bielsa at Leeds United was found to have sent a spy, one of his coaching staff, to spy on Derby County in their training sessions. And so, when he was asked about it in his interview, he just came out straight and said, yeah, it was me. And then not only that, he said, I've done it for every single game this season. So, as you can imagine, Frank Lampard was livid. And people have been kicking off loads of different views. Now, Harry, what is your view on the whole situation? Because personally, it's just another part of football, isn't it?
Wayne Shaw, step aside. Spygate is over. Spygate is the new thing we got to go. So I think I feel mixed about it, because you could say that maybe sending someone to go and spy on the other team is a step too far, especially when he said, "Yeah, did it to all the teams." To be fair, yeah. But I don't know. He did come out and he was very honest, and he did say exactly what he did before the game, how he sets up and how he spends so many hours. I think you told me earlier, almost like 100 hours. Yeah. To work out how he was going to play against each team and go back to the old results and the way they set up. But the fact that he came out and he's honest, it's really good of him to do that. And it's just about how they're going to punish what he's done, because obviously something is going to come from the FA. So what do you think should happen? There's been a lot mentioned, maybe even a points deduction.
Nothing should happen. It's, at the end of the day, Ian, I understand that there's a certain amount of like sportsmanship and respect. But what is the difference from sending somebody to watch a team train compared to watching a team at a game? If I was Marcelo Bielsa, I could have gone to Leeds United, I could have gone to Derby's last 3 home games and watched how they set up and play live. But I send, a spy, a member of the coaching staff, it probably looked dodgy that there was this guy in the bushes looking, and I think Derby have made a little bit of a meal about it with how the whole police were called and Frank Lampard saying, it ruined the whole team shape. No, it didn't. No. Because you don't plan a day before a game or about how you're going to play completely. You might make little changes, work on little things and how you want to set up from the start, and how you might want to change it in case anything happens. But majority of your team plan is done as soon as the new week commences, and that's when you start, working on the next game. But, so I think, I don't think anything should come from it. It's certainly not a points deduction. No. If you make a meal of this, you're going to get so many more things come out that people are going to say are equally as bad, and it's just going to send everything and the way managers are allowed to set up to play teams into dispute, and it's just going to cause way much more trouble. The fact he's been honest, yes, he said sorry, they move on. I saw a tweet from Stan Collymore saying that they think the game should be replayed. No. For Christ's sake, no. It's gone. What if Derby had spied on Leeds United? You wouldn't have any of this reaction. You wouldn't have any of this. At the end of the day, Leeds United played Derby. Marcelo Bielsa had probably, by the looking of that PowerPoint, not even used the whole spying thing that much. Did you see what was on that PowerPoint? He had the way that the team that Derby set up against Chelsea away in the earlier rounds of the Capital One Cup or Carabao Cup. He even had the way Chelsea played and the way that Chelsea impacted the way they played, so we could predict how they would react when they play. And I mean, it was amazing. It was a real insight into how a proper world-class manager sets up his team. And so, the whole Spygate thing probably didn't even have that much of an influence. So, at the end of the day, he's a world-class manager. There's a reason Leeds United are storming the Championship at the minute. And, Leeds United played out of their skin, incredible. And at the end of the day, they beat Derby fair and square. And if anything comes from it, it is a stupid decision.
Well, Paul Merson went on Sky Sports and he was talking about how a points deduction would be ridiculous. And that's because it would be so unfair on the fans. They've paid their money, they've gone out, they've watched those games, and they might not have even played the best. But the fans have gone out and made memories. For example, with the wins, they would have made great memories. And, the FA would just be taking all of that away from them, wouldn't they? And that's just unfair on the fans, so that would be a terrible idea. And to be honest, don't you think punishment enough was him going out and revealing everything? How embarrassing must have that been to him? And all of the media attention, how it circulated recently, I think that's punishment enough. And I think you can move on now rather than making even more of a meal out of it.
I think it's stupid how he felt that to gain some kind of respect for himself, he had to call a conference in which he gave away how he manages. At the end of the day, if you're fantastic at what you do, no way would someone like Sir Alex Ferguson come out publicly and give you a presentation of how he sets up his team and how he plans. That he shouldn't have done that. That is unfair for him to feel that he had to completely reveal the way he manages. We see, for Christ's sake, all the time you see TV cameras get access to the way that to teams training. Some football clubs allow the public to come and watch them train.
Sunderland till I die.
Exactly. That Netflix documentary where Sunderland just capitulated, which is actually it's a brilliant documentary. I would go watch it if you've got nothing to do in an evening. Because let's face it, there's much better things to do than watch Sunderland. But if you've got nothing to do in the evening and you want to have a bit of a laugh, watch it because it's comedy gold, quite frankly. But yeah, like you say, exactly. Cameras have always filmed teams training. To say that scouts in the past have not got a grip of that footage, to say that scouts don't go and watch teams play games, this whole idea of scouting an opposition has always been there. Just like you scout the enemy in an army, you scout to prepare. And at the end of the day, he has sent someone to help him prepare for a game. Now, they didn't. There's no point asking permission because Derby wouldn't have allowed it. But it's not illegal. He didn't step onto their property because he was behind a fence which marks their property. So he wasn't, what if there was a dog walker in the bush and he stood there with his dog watching Derby County train? No, it's not illegal. He's in a public area. So what is wrong? There's nothing wrong. And it's
called being resourceful.
Exactly. Being resourceful and actually that's thinking out the box. Yeah. And that's what good managers do. What if Pep Guardiola went undercover to watch Liverpool play? With his hat and his Stone Island his Stone Island jacket on, looking like a real hard nut, putting on some kind of Liverpudlian accent. Can you imagine? He wouldn't get done at all. He'd be saying, "Oh, look at the genius, Pep Guardiola. Yeah. He's so good at managing." But because it's in the Championship and it's seen as this awful league where it's just stupid. And the EFL, for a start, the fact that they're considering some kind of allegation is stupid. I mean, he's apologised. He shouldn't have to do any more. He was honest. He didn't lie about it and then come out later and say, "Oh yeah, sorry, that actually was me." Straight from the start, he says, "It was me. I admit it. It's the way I prepare." And actually, looking at him, with the hours and hours he spends preparing, I have no doubt that the whole Spygate thing had very little impact in how he prepared for the game. At the end of the day, he's a better manager, he's got better players, and Leeds are winning in the Championship fair and square.
Going to move on to transfer news now, aren't we, Jack?
We are.
So, what players have you got for me?
Well, obviously, in the Premier League, one of the biggest stories was the whole idea about Arnautovic. Whether he was going to go to China. I think Manchester United were rumoured to be putting in a bid as well, but China were the main interested. is Arnautovic worth the 30 plus million? I mean, he's scored 7 goals so far this season. He only scored 11 in total last season, so he's doing all right. He's probably an average Premier League striker. Very important to West Ham's season though, the way they play. Key to unlocking defences and kind of build up, and the way he drops and gets in behind as well. So, and we know how much of a character he can be and how much trouble he can be, as we found out at Stoke when West Ham were rumoured to be signing him. He completely almost went on strike from Stoke. So he's not necessarily the most professional player. And when he wants to cause trouble, he will cause trouble. So do you think it's worth West Ham's trouble, holding on to him, and now everybody's saying that this deal's off? So was it worth the trouble in them keeping him?
No, I don't think there's a lot of point in keeping him, because obviously his heart is elsewhere. And often we see when China, well, it's not the most competitive league. As you see, Moussa Dembele went over there, but he's getting older. And he told,
he's 32,
he was even telling the fans, like, my game's changed, I've not got the same stamina I used to have. So he recognises that as a step down. Even if it is a new challenge, it's still a step down. But for a player like Arnautovic, who could still definitely play to a decent degree in the Premier League, I don't think he's like a top player, but I think he's a pretty good player. He's good enough for West Ham, but it's his attitude, and that's the issue. And I think that offloading that to China is probably a good thing for West Ham. The only thing is that fee, compared to some of the other things they offer from China, that's not a lot of money for him, especially in today's market. I was thinking more of like a 45 million, but no, I think it's probably good they're getting rid of him. It's just about who's going to be that main striker for West Ham, because obviously Felipe Anderson plays in behind. He's a really effective cam. He's probably been one of the best attacking midfielders in the Premier League this season, I'd go as far as say. But the thing is Lucas Perez good enough?
God, no.
Who's going to play at striker for them?
Well, I mean, they've got the ever-injured Andy Carroll, the ever-injured Antonio, the okay but getting old and kind of degrading Javier Hernandez. And Lucas Perez, I saw a tweet from a West Ham fan, he thinks he's the worst player he's ever seen play football in his life. So, they're not blessed with striking options. Obviously, they've got Lanzini, who's unfortunately out injured. I'd imagine they'd be doing a hell of a lot better if they had him fit. But, West Ham are doing okay in the Premier League. Considering what they've got, Felipe Anderson has stepped up to the Premier League. That's great to see. Great player. Declan Rice has been fantastic. And, they've got... Yarmolenko, we haven't really seen much of him. They've just signed Samir Nasri. Is Samir Nasri going to make the difference? I mean, he's getting old. He looked okay in his first game for West Ham. He looked okay. Set up well, and, kind of we saw glimpses of the quality that we saw when he was at Man City. I mean, he's never going to regain that level, but Pellegrini he's getting somewhere with West Ham. Finally, after a couple of years of mediocre under Slaven Bilic, just surviving relegation, they are starting to make progress. But I've been really impressed by certain players of West Ham. Felipe Anderson particularly, he's been a great sign for them. But they're doing better because they're investing in the squad. In the summer, Gold and Sullivan invested in the squad. They listened to Pellegrini, and he was very honest with them apparently, and said, look, if you actually want to go anywhere forward, you've got this brand new, you've got this like 65,000 seater stadium you've redeveloped. If you want to go forward and get this European football that you want, you need to invest in the squad. And they gave him the backing, and they are actually getting places. Yes, it's going to take them a couple of years, because the top 7 now is extremely competitive. Because you've got Leicester pushing on the edges now for top 7. You've got Wolves who've come in, and we all knew they were going to probably challenge. Everton under Marco Silva, they've dropped off a little bit. I mean, they've really kind of dipped in the last couple of months, but they are still doing very, very well in the Premier League. Watford are now 7th. Bournemouth, I mean, I'm a little bit disappointed with Bournemouth, because on their day they can be very good, but I think they've slightly dropped off a bit, and they've kind of dropped off with their pressure on the kind of top 7 that we thought they might sustain. But there's plenty of time left in the season, there is no doubt that Eddie Howe's team will come back and probably make a late challenge, and definitely top 10, which is fantastic for them, and that just gives them the room to invest further. But obviously, we digress. The Arnautovic, so he's staying at West Ham. That's the news. And Harry, you're going to talk about the rumour of Giuseppe Rossi apparently going to Tottenham.
Yep, Giuseppe Rossi. Well, what a weird transfer this is. So, to give it a bit of context, obviously Tottenham are struggling a lot at the moment. Harry Kane's going to be injured until at least March.
Yep.
And then Lucas Moura is also injured. Son is on international duty, and South Korea are doing pretty well in the Asian Cup. They beat China 2-0, and he played a pivotal role in that. And, going forward, attacking, who is the other option? Vincent Janssen's come back from injury. Is he going to cut it? I don't think so. He didn't when Tottenham were trying him out originally. And Fernando Llorente, he's old now.
He scores against Tranmere.
He got a hat-trick against Tranmere, so, give him a chance. No, I think Llorente, he's good in the air still. He's still great at heading the ball, but he's old, he's sluggish, and I don't think he's going to be enough to carry Tottenham through this difficult period, including a game against Borussia Dortmund in the Champions League, which, to be honest, with the league title looking out of the question, they're really going to want to really push on for that and see how far they can go. So Giuseppe Rossi then. He's been recently really unsettled ever since about 2016, I'd say. So he scored 1 goal in 9 for Genoa. That's his most recent club. And before that, it was 4 in 18 for Celta Vigo. That's since 2016. So he's not really been doing very good in the last 2 to 3 seasons.
Free agent now.
And yeah, he's a free agent now. He hasn't played in the Italy setup.
31.
He's 31. He hasn't played in the Italy setup since 2014, which Tottenham should be looking at a player who's at least playing for their national team regularly. Because if they want to do things, if they want to win, if they want to win something big, like Pochettino is saying he wants to win the Champions League at some point, then he has to invest better than Giuseppe Rossi. Because obviously you never know in football, but I don't think he's going to cut it. And I don't think that that's the kind of investment that the fans want. And it needs to be better than that. There are so many great strikers around. Young strikers, you look at, even at Genoa, there's a Piatek. He's a really good player up front. There are so many talents around. He could have brought in all these players, but...
Ciro Immobile.
Ciro Immobile, he's also another older striker, but he's still at the top of his game, unlike Rossi. Scores a lot for Lazio. And I don't really feel that's a great transfer. Apparently it's off the table, but you've got to wait until deadline day to see what happens. There could be a panic buy, but Tottenham definitely need a striker, and I don't think Rossi's the right choice.
We'll just stay on Rossi quickly for a second. I mean, he's 31. He's a free agent. Is he really going to be fit? He's probably going to take him 2 weeks, 3-4 weeks to get properly fit, playing game ready again. And Kane will be back in a few weeks. But at the end of the day, Tottenham have got to do something, because for years now they haven't got a backup to Harry Kane, which not only pushes Harry Kane to be better, but means that if anything ever happens to him, if Harry Kane did his anterior cruciate ligament, was out for 7 months, Tottenham where would they go? Because you can't have Llorente deliver 20 goals for you a season. They've got to have someone, not as good as Kane, but someone probably a bit younger, but still good now, who can push Kane. Son, I get it, he's incredible. But he's 27, 28, going 28 soon probably. And
he starts anyway.
At the end of the day, he starts anyway.
With Kane.
He starts with Kane. He starts with Kane out wide. And so, with Son going off to the Asian Cup, they can't play him. Harry Kane's up till March. But at the end of the day, Daniel Levy isn't going to spend any money in the squad because he's just paid 600 million for a stadium, which still isn't finished. Still haven't moved in. When are they going to move into this new stadium? They're meant to be moving this to move up in stature, go for Champions League, be competing for the Premier League season in, season out. But every season we see them start well, but they don't recruit well enough. If they'd bought a younger striker in the summer who, could look under the guidance of Kane and really try and hit the top of the game at Tottenham, so that when Kane becomes older and his game starts to adapt, or if he gets injured, they've got somebody who can come in and hit the ground running. They don't have that. Llorente is older. He can score a hatch against Tranmere, but you aren't could score a hat-trick against Tranmere with her eyes closed. So, at the end of the day, Daniel Levy needs to invest in the squad, but we all know he's not going to invest in the squad, and so it seems like Tottenham are going to be in the rut, and at the end of the day, the title race, Manchester City and Liverpool are going to run away from them. Chelsea are probably going to catch up on Tottenham quite quickly, and we'll see where that goes, but you never know. Tottenham might bring out a world-eater signing, or like you said, they could panic buy and end up buying another Moussa Sissoko. But anyway, we move on. I'm not having the Moussa Sissoko God talk, that is. No. Okay, so, the biggest news at the transfer window, Gary Cahill. Is he going to go to Fulham? Yes or no, Harry? Do we think he's off?
Gary Cahill has been a player who I've hated for many years. I cannot.
We're impartial, you can't say that.
I can't stand his style of play. It's just so boring. Like, it's so ordinary, and and he's aging now. He isn't really.
He's 33 now.
He's 33. Wow, and he hasn't been starting for Chelsea regularly. That's for sure. Because obviously Rudiger's come really good, and he's been brilliant at the back.
Yes.
And David Luiz, although he's inconsistent, he's still better than Gary Cahill. And to be honest, I don't think that's going to be the answer. I think Fulham, to be honest, they look a bit doomed, don't they? Really, because the whole point was that they're struggling because they brought in too many players, and Ranieri's looking at it, he's like, better bring in some new ones. But defensively, they are still dire.
Shocking.
And I don't think he's enough to shore it up. I think they'd probably need to bring in Jan Vertonghen and Toby Alderweireld to stand a chance at the back. But, that's about as likely as being struck by lightning. So, I don't think it's a worthwhile transfer. They're not even sure if he's going to go. So, tough times for Fulham, I think it's fair to say.
Well, and yeah, he really isn't bringing his tinker magic like we all thought he would. But then again, Leicester only just survived relegation and won the Premier League the next season. So watch out. Fulham, Premier League champions 2019-2020. But one of the most interesting moves, and it's not even a move, is Aaron Ramsey agreeing to join Juventus at the at the end of his contract at Arsenal. £300,000 a week. Now, I think personally it's stupid Arsenal have let him go, because out of their whole midfield, he adds energy. He is the most talented. On his day, we know he struggled with injuries, but with Unai Emery coming in, we all thought it would, it'd be a new start for everyone. And Aaron Ramsey would get the chance he deserved, because Arsene Wenger stuck way too much with Xhaka, and I think Torreira. Arsenal have added some good additions in midfield. I personally think Arsenal still need a complete squad overhaul. Defensively, they're terrible. In terms of in the midfield defensively, they're not the best. They brought in Torreira. Torreira's a very good player, but we haven't seen. But he's gonna give him a while, and he'll become even better. But this season, he's doing good. It's not enough though. Guendouzi, fantastic young player. He's going to be a fantastic midfielder one day, but he's not good enough. And it just shows that the fact that he's starting every week, although he's impressed massively, the fact he's easily starting every week just shows that Unai Emery just thinks he doesn't have the options. The fact that Mesut Ozil, a player on like £350,000 a week, is not even getting in the squad is stupid. So to let Aaron Ramsey go when a player who arguably would look at the whole idea that Aaron Ramsey didn't sign his contract is because he said, look, Ozil's on 300 grand a week. I'm almost as good as Ozil. I want 200 grand a week. And when Arsenal say no, he goes, well, fine, I'm not signing the contract then. Because, at the end of the day, if a player's getting paid that much, other players will look and say, well, hang on a minute. I've played more games than him this season. Why am I not getting paid more? And so that just causes more and more trouble. So, giving Ozil that big lucrative contract has just meant Arsenal kind of are starting to capitulate a little bit. And players like Aaron Ramsey who are running out of contract are happy to run out their contract, because now he's got a deal to go to Juventus, the Serie A champions. He's going to be playing in the Champions League every season, playing in a title-winning team. You watch how much his football improves at Juventus. under Allegri, he's going to be amazing. And Arsenal, this is going to be a big regret for them because he could have been the star of a new midfield, of a new team going forward and a new rebuild. But at the end of the day, where's this rebuild going to come from? Because Unai Emery came out the other week and said that they could only loan players. Arsenal, a team with millions of pounds, they haven't got the pressure like they did when they first moved to the Emirates, where they couldn't really spend any money. They've got a billionaire owner worth about £7 billion in Stan Kroenke, who's now the major shareholder. He's not doing his job of investing in the squad, but at the end of the day, he's like an owner who will happily sit there on his fortune. He'll happily sit there. He doesn't care, really. And then it's not good. It's not nice because Unai Emery's come in and really kind of wants to make a go of making this Arsenal team good again and having the good days back at Arsenal. He can't have a proper go at it. Only being able to loan players. You're Arsenal. You should be a top 6 side easy, and you're only being able to loan players. That's ridiculous.
Well, Jack, first of all, I don't know what you mean about midfield woes, because they can just bring in Granit Xhaka and Mohamed El Neni. Those legends. No, this is a really weird move. I mean, the only way this makes sense to me is, Aaron Ramsey's bank account's going to be pretty happy. £300,000 a week. That's incredible. But the thing is Arsenal, I agree. He was probably their most talented midfielder because, in my opinion, Ozil has been in decline for a couple of seasons now, and I think he's definitely on the way out. And I just think that although Guendouzi's talented, I don't think he's playing the greatest, and I think that what's his name? Torreira is probably their best midfielder by quite a way, but their defence, oh my word, is terrible. Socrates Papastopoulos is
wow, where did you learn?
is an absolute shambles. Like, he's honestly one of the worst defenders I've ever seen play for Arsenal. And with Ramsey gone, they've lost an amount of depth, they've lost talent, and they've lost a skilled player. And Juventus have already got quite congested midfield. They've got
signed Emre Can on a free last season.
They've got Can, Khedira, Pjanic, who I think is probably one of the best central midfielders out there. They've even been talking about bringing Pogba back as well. Like, what is going on? Are they going to play 9 central midfielders?
They only need Ronaldo.
Yeah, I think that Juventus are an incredibly strong team. So I don't really know why they decided to get Ramsey also, but I'm sure
Is he going to be complaining if he's sitting on the bench?
No, he won't complain. And I think that you're right. I think he will probably get some game time because,
it's a lot
even if it's off the bench, he will get some game time because he is a talented player, and Juventus have obviously realised that. Hence his massive salary.
But I think he, you say about coming off the bench, but he's actually going to be given a chance.
Yeah, he's going to be given a chance. Obviously, they've got Bentancur, who plays quite a few games now because he had such an incredible World Cup, and we all just watched what an incredible player he was becoming right before our eyes, and he's continued it in Serie A. But you're still talking about a team which coasts through the league every single season, which is a shame, really, to see the lack of competition there. But I think Ramsey will get a couple of chances, whether that's as a substitute or the odd start. It's just nonsensical, though. Like, I don't know why Arsenal have done that. But anyway, I've got another player to discuss. Gonzalo Higuain.
Oh.
Now, this man, he's a bit of a weird one because he's well known for crumbling on the big stage, isn't he? He misses his chances when it matters the most. But who's trying to sign him? Chelsea. Well, I mean, it makes sense, doesn't it? Because Mauricio Sarri definitely got the best out of him at Napoli. And that was one of his best goal-to-game ratios that he ever had. But now he's at Milan. He's on loan. He's played 15 games in Serie A. He's got 6 goals. That's a decent turnout for a team that's struggling. They're in 5th place right now. And obviously he did very well for Juventus. He got more than 1 every other game. That's a pretty good record. But Chelsea, is he right? Is he the right player? He's a big man. He's very physical. He's a bit of a sharpshooter. He's got a great shot on him. But I don't think he's right because the problem with Chelsea is the whole Sarri ball has come into the Premier League and it's been worked out immediately. And Chelsea just haven't really been able to, stake a claim for first or even second, which, a lot of people are hoping that they challenge for. And they started out really well. If you remember, we were like, oh, Chelsea are well in the title race. They got a great chance. But he's just been figured out. The managerial style, the way he sets up has been figured out. And I think throwing Higuain in there it's just going to, it's kind of similar to Giroud, because you're just putting a big guy up top who's going to have to try and hold the ball up and take the odd shot. I know Giroud's not scored much, but, is it going to be different, Higuain? I don't think so. I think if they'd bought someone like, I know it's not Summer, but Icardi, who can get in behind and he offers a new dimension, they'd be more successful at Chelsea. So, what do you think about the Higuain transfer?
I think it's odd because he's so old.
He is.
But obviously Sarri's looked at it and think, well, I mean, what was it? Didn't he play? He played Pedro up front the other week. And then the day, Morata is awful.
Oh, he's bad.
He's bad. I mean, he's not just bad. He's bad. I mean, Chelsea have been rumoured with strikers for years. I mean, Icardi was rumoured to be going to Chelsea, and that wouldn't surprise me. I'm surprised that, in fact, they didn't try and make a bigger effort to sign him. But Gonzalo Higuain, I'm not going to lie, I can just see him coming in and flopping. He's only on loan. He's on a great big contract still at Juventus. He doesn't care. He'll probably go to China next season. He doesn't have to make an effort, and I think, although, like you say, Sarri got the best out of him at Napoli, he was a younger, fitter, more athletic player at Napoli. I mean, we all saw when he came back, when he was at Juventus and he came back in pre-season, and he was overweight, and we thought, hang on a minute, what? What happened? And he's never kind of got back to that athleticism that he had at Napoli. That's why he was such a great, lucrative scorer. I think Sarri, it seems to me, either it's his decision or it's the board's decision, but I think they're grasping at straws a little bit. I don't think he's going to have the impact they want. And while we're on the topic of Chelsea, let's just talk about Hudson-Odoi, because incredible young player, incredible young Englishman. Bayern Munich have been said to have bid £35 million for him. And Chelsea have turned around and said, all right, well, we'll offer you a new 50 grand, possibly 70 grand a week contract to Hudson-Odoi. And, apparently his agent's in talks with Bayern Munich. Do you think he should go to Germany, to the Bundesliga, where Reece Nelson, Jadon Sancho are all tearing it up? Where English players are getting a chance, young players are getting a chance to play regularly. And actually, what an insult to Hudson-Odoi that he's been performing so well and he's worked so hard to get in the manager's thinking and, get some football, that they then go and sign Pulisic. What a pointless signing he was. And it's an insult to Hudson-Odoi. And quite frankly, when you're insulted, somebody's got to have face consequences. And if I was Hudson-Odoi, I'd jump on the next flight to Munich and I'd go and sign a contract to Bayern because I know I'm going to get a chance. They've brought in Alphonso Davies, 16 years old, 17 now, and he's getting chances to play in the Bundesliga. Ribery and Robin are getting older. And Bayern Munich are taking the approach of using young, exciting, attacking players, to integrate into the squad so that when Robin and Ribery do retire, they've got people that can hit the ground running. Hudson-Odoi should go and join Bayern Munich. It's an exciting couple of years for Bayern. Obviously, they're under new management this season, top of the Bundesliga again. I would go and join them, personally. You've got a great finisher in Robert Lewandowski who's going to get you assists. All you've got to do is put it on a plate to him. You've got great players like James Rodriguez, Thomas Muller, Thiago, Goretzka. Incredible players in that team. If I was Hudson-Odoi, I'd go now. What do you think?
It's a really tough call. It really is, because Hudson-Odoi, in my opinion, is one of the best young English players we got, and we've got a lot of good young players. Jadon Sancho, Reece Nelson, Wan-Bissaka. We've got a lot of really good ones out there. But in my opinion, he's one of the best. I've seen him play in almost every professional game he's come out for Chelsea in the men's team, and he's just got such skill. He's incredible on the ball. His crossing is good. He can cut inside. He's got it all. He can score. He's really just an all-round strong attacker. And Chelsea, they're just ridiculous. They just can't nurture youth talent. Buying Pulisic was a really weird decision. Because, to be honest, unless they're going to put Hudson-Odoi or Pulisic respectively on the left wing rather than the right, I don't know why they've done that. Because Hudson-Odoi should have been Chelsea's future. But instead, now we're looking at a player who, realistically, probably has a better chance of playing if he goes abroad to Germany. And, partially, you could see it as a good thing that players are finally taking those opportunities to go abroad and prove themselves. But the best national teams tend to have a strong base in their own country. For example, Germany. We know that a lot of the young German players do get a chance in the Bundesliga. Or Spain, when Spain won those back-to-back titles with the Euros and the World Cup, almost all those players were playing in La Liga. And I wonder if it does form a stronger sense of unity in the squad. So, although it's great that players are going out and getting that experience, the fact that they're not being nurtured in their home league, the Premier League, is kind of worrying, don't you think?
It is, and it's annoying that English players aren't being given a bigger chance. And actually, when you do give them a chance, you realise, oh, hang on, I've got something special on my hands here. We've seen it with Phil Foden, but Guardiola, he's given him a chance. He's incredible. 17, 18 years old now. And, wow, Wan-Bissaka at Crystal Palace. Nobody thought that he's come out of nowhere. You think he's one of the best right-backs in the league?
I do.
He's certainly, definitely, someone who's come out of nowhere and has really, really performed in that area. And this is great for Gareth Southgate. Seeing all this English talent come to the scene. We've actually got an England selection problem going into international call-ups. It's great. It's nice to have a feeling of competition back again in the England squad, rather than the same players like Gary Cahill, John Terry, Ashley, just the same players every time. Gareth Southgate isn't shying away from giving English players a chance. He called up Mason Mount, a player in the Championship. Great player. And finally we've got a manager that recognises younger talent and a new generation of England. So this is like liquid gold for him. But at the end of the day, Chelsea aren't going to play Hudson-Odoi regularly. They'd rather have Christian Pulisic rather than give Hudson-Odoi a bigger chance. That is stupid. That is insulting. That was insulting. And if I was an Odoi, I'd get out of there and actually go play football. And actually, I can see many young English players doing the same. The Bundesliga is a very good standard of football. It's competitive. And, and the managers out there want to give young players chances. Unfortunately, managers in England are stubborn and don't want to give young players chances. And we've seen with Germans that have come to the Premier League that they give players chances. Alexander-Arnold, Jurgen Klopp gave him a chance. Someone who hadn't really been seen before. It was always Nathaniel Klein. Klopp comes in. Oh, hang on, we've got a really good young right back here. Give him a few games, and now he's first team, and he's forced Nathaniel Klein out of the club completely. Ben Chilwell at Leicester. Wreck-It Ralph Hasenhüttl.
Oh, yes.
You've got that Valerie.
Yeah.
A young striker, a young right back as well. Going in, they're not the same player obviously, but as a young striker and a young right back coming to thinking they've actually played the last few Premier League games for Southampton. It's a German giving young players a chance. So many young players see the chance to go to Germany and get football. At the end of the day, it takes a lot of courage to go to Germany, a completely different country away from your family, to try and progress your career. And, it's a shame that it is that way.
Yeah.
It shouldn't be that way. English players should have a chance at Premier League clubs. But, it's not going to change for a while. And so we will move on to predictions for this week's Premier League games. So there are 8 games on Saturday, 2 games on Sunday, with the biggest game of the weekend being Arsenal-Chelsea. But we'll start from the beginning with Wolves-Leicester. And, I'm going to go for 1-1. Both teams in good form. Wolves, we all knew that they were going to be in and around this position come the second part of the season. But Leicester, they're in great confidence in the minute. They've got no worries. They can, they beat Chelsea of the week. Obviously, Liverpool lost to Wolves in the FA Cup with a cracking goal from Ruben Neves as well.
Oh.
So it's going to be a tough game, and I think it'll be on as even 1-1 in Wolves versus Leicester.
Well, ever since Leicester beat Chelsea and City back-to-back, they've been struggling a little bit. They've been a bit out of form, I suppose you could say, as seen with that Newport County loss. That was a bit shocking. Wolves, on the other hand, giant killers. They can beat any team on their day. They're brilliant. They beat Liverpool, obviously. They beat Tottenham, Chelsea. They gave Arsenal a great go. And I've got to go with the Wolves win. They're just such a great team this season. I didn't expect them to do quite this well. For a promoted team, they're incredible. So I'll say 2-1 to Wolves.
Hey. Bournemouth West Ham is the next game. Obviously, both teams in okay form. I think the Arnautovic situation is going to trouble West Ham a little bit. And I'm going to go for a Bournemouth win. Bournemouth are very good at home. I'm going to go for Bournemouth 2, West Ham 1.
Yeah, I have a similar opinion on that. I do think West Ham will be, struggling with that Arnautovic situation a little bit. Bournemouth, on the other hand, I think they'll just be looking to restore that top 10 aim. 1-0 for Bournemouth.
Liverpool Palace. Palace obviously not doing brilliantly. Wilfried Zaha hasn't really showed up to last season, but Liverpool are going to be too strong. Incredible form. It's great to see, such an exciting attacking team up there at the Premier League, and actually a Premier League challenge, a Premier League title race between them and Manchester City. So I'm going to go for Liverpool 3, Palace 0.
I'll tell you what, you're forgetting the fact. Crystal Palace have lost Jason Punchin, so they're going to capitulate. It's going to be a bad scoreline. No, I think Crystal Palace, obviously we've seen them put out some great performances, such as against Man City. They've got some great quality in their team. For example, look at Townsend, who's having quite a good season. I believe that Milivojevic is an incredible defensive midfielder. I think Crystal Palace will try and hang on. Obviously, they don't have all too many points, but Liverpool, they are a bit too strong. I think it's going to be close, 2-1 for me to Liverpool.
Okay, well, I predicted Crystal Palace to lose like 4-0 to City, and they went and beat them 3-2. Yeah. Man United, Brighton, the Ole Gunnar Solskjaer revolution continues. Yeah, okay, so he's only played like one good team, but it's a revolution, Harry. Yeah. They're going to smash PSG in the Champions League. Yeah. Man United 3, Brighton 0 for me. Pogba seems to be on fire. Rashford given a chance at striker. Who knew it? He could score goals. It doesn't take a genius to work that one out. Lukaku is awful. Ole Gunnar Solskjaer's come in. He's realised that actually, hang on a minute, Lukaku's touch. If Lukaku takes a touch inside his own box, the ball ends up on the M1, and he stays in Old Trafford. So I'm, Marcus Rashford to get a brace in this one for me. Lingard, it's great to see him back in form. Enjoying his football again. It all seemed to be like nobody was enjoying their football at the end of and who knew Lindelof was actually a decent player. Maybe he is worth that 50 million quid. But yeah, Man United 3, Brighton 0 for me.
Snap.
Nothing said. Okay, Newcastle Cardiff, the most exciting game of this weekend. That is the team which won't invest against the team who invests in League One players. Cardiff, you said that Crystal Palace had lost Jason Punchin. Cardiff have just lost Lee Tomlin. Cardiff are going to capitulate now. You watch. But Peterborough fans will be absolutely ecstatic. I'm not going to reveal my club loyalties to keep it impartial. But up the posh. So, Newcastle Cardiff. Newcastle, nobody ever really knows. It doesn't look like Mike Ashley's going to let Rafa Benitez invest in January once again. But they're still going to come out with a win for me. Newcastle 2, Cardiff 1.
I'm sure we all remember the incredible reverse fixture of Newcastle 0, Cardiff 0 last time out, where Kennedy missed a penalty and it was said he had one of the worst performances ever in the Premier League. So that was a great game, obviously. Second time round is going to be just as terrible, I think. I saw a Newcastle fan who was very, very passionate on TalkSport. He said that he wants Rafa Benitez to come out, resign, and Mike Ashley to just get relegated, lose loads of money, and then go away, pretty much, to say it plainly. And you know what? I couldn't agree more with him. It's just shameful what's happening at that club. Benitez does not deserve it. But, unfortunately, for that Newcastle fan, I think they're actually going to win 1-0 against the Cardiff side, who look like they're just not going to keep it together.
Maybe Neil Warnock can, big up his team with another Brexit talk. Okay. So, Southampton, Everton. Obviously, Southampton losing to Derby on penalties in the FA Cup. Everton doing all right. Two almost quite similar teams in the way they set up and the way that Ralph Hasenhüttl is trying to play. I'm going to go for 2-2. Nothing in this one for me.
Well, a lot of people look at a loss to Derby and think, wow, they lost to a championship side. But this is a championship side who are playing very well this season. And actually, if you look at a lot of the teams who come up at the top of the championship, they're almost just as good as the lower Premier League teams, in my opinion.
Yeah.
Sometimes even better. And so that's not too embarrassing. Southampton can just focus on their Premier League campaign now. I think Wreck-It Ralph has had a brilliant start, don't you? I think he's come in. He's made brilliant changes. The way
he's trying to change things.
He is.
It's going to take time and signings, but at least he's trying to change it.
I like what he's doing. I know that they lost that game, but I like what he's doing.
You can see the progress.
They managed to get that draw against Chelsea. That's a great result. They beat Arsenal. Sorry, that's a brilliant result. Ralph has got to be happy with that. And Everton have really been struggling. They've been a bit on and
Jordan
off.
Pickford's just completely lost form.
I don't know what's happened to Jordan Pickford. I'm a bit concerned because,
Sting
especially that
as well.
6-2 loss against Tottenham, that was worrying me that he was that bad. But Southampton, I think the mastermind that is Wreck-It Ralph is just going to manage to get round it. It's a home game. They'll be pumped up. 1-0 Southampton.
Okay. Watford, of course, going fantastically in the Premier League against Burnley, who are starting to pick up some form. Sean Dyche has realised he doesn't have to play Joe Hart in goal, and actually, he's realised that Tom Heaton isn't that bad of a keeper.
Who would have thought?
So both teams going well in the last few games, but Watford at home, I'm going to see them grab a 2-0 win for me.
Well, Burnley got what I'm going to call an incredibly fortunate result against Fulham. Jeff Hendrick played really well, though. He actually performed very well in that game. But to be honest, who is it again? Oh. But to be honest, against Watford is 7th. Now, I don't really know how they got there because they're so inconsistent. You never know what you're going to get with Watford, but they've got players with incredible quality. You look at Pereira is, for me, the standout, but Decore, he's such a good midfielder. They've got Troy Deeney is still doing it. He's still doing it well. And they've got Dale Lefeu. They've got Kabasele at the back. Ben Foster in goal has been a revelation.
Knew he was that good?
He has been incredible in goal. They've just got a really strong team. Even Holobas on his day can be really good, even though he's a little bit aggressive. But Watford, I expect to win this game. Burnley have been weak this season. I reckon they could even go down, actually. 3-1 to Watford.
Okay. Biggest game of the Premier League season. Biggest game of the Premier League this weekend. Blimey, if this was the biggest Premier League game of the season, I might as well go watch Cambridge every week. Arsenal Chelsea. I don't know about this one. Are Gonzalo Higuain going to sign in time? Probably not. They're probably going to have to end up playing Pedro again. But Arsenal, with their defence, will easily probably be hit on the counter-attack and offer no wall or anything. Maybe they need Trump to come and build a wall. He seems to be quite enthusiastic about building walls at the minute. So maybe Arsenal should have appointed him. But anyway, Arsenal Chelsea. I'm going to go for Sarri to grab a 2-1 win at the Emirates for me.
Yeah, I think Arsenal do have probably one of the weakest defences around at the moment.
Sound a bit excited.
Yeah, I am. I think that Hector Bellerin is wildly overrated. I think Socrates is a disaster. And these woes are going to continue against a team who, on the counter, are one of the most deadly in the league, no doubt. Pedro's in brilliant form. He's been playing fantastically. Willian's been a little bit hot and cold recently. It's just about finding that striker. I think Hazard will probably play false 9. And we all know how incredible Hazard has been, especially this season. He's been great. So, I'm expecting a win for Chelsea. 2-0.
Okay, and on to Sunday's games. Huddersfield versus City and Fulham versus Tottenham. What are your quick fire predictions? I'm going to go for Huddersfield 0, City 5, and Fulham 0, Tottenham 2.
Mine are Huddersfield 0, Man City 3. And can I just say a little something? I want to just...
She's meant to be quick fire.
I just want to say, David, I miss you already. Please come back. David meant a lot to me. He was a man of many talents. His beautiful accent.
A man of talent, just not management.
His beautiful accent, his mixture of the beautiful American side and the beautiful German side invigorated my days.
Specsavers glasses.
Yeah. And I just want him back, to be honest. Miss him. And Huddersfield are going to struggle without. Just you watch. They're going to get worse, if that's possible. And one day David will come back and you know who's going to be laughing? He will. Yeah, that's right. Right, so quick fire prediction was Huddersfield 0, Man City 3. And then finally, I'm going to go Fulham 1, Tottenham 1 because I think Tottenham are going to really struggle for goals with Kane, Moura and Son gone. And I think Fulham will be really scrapping for survival. They've got some strong players in there who deserve better. 1-1.
Okay, so that is episode 1 of series 2 done. We hope you've enjoyed this slightly extended transfer special. Obviously, we really couldn't ignore Spygate, and we have to do the previews because, you know, it's the best part of the show. It's the Football Natter. This is what we do. Of course, if you want to get in touch, leave any comments, leave your thoughts, anything that you want us to talk about in the coming weeks, email thefootballnatter@gmail.com. But I've been Jack. I've been joined once again by Harry. Thank you for listening. Of course, you can catch the latest 3 on iTunes, and all episodes are available on the Football Natter YouTube channel. So make sure you catch up with those. Subscribe. We hope you've enjoyed this episode. Thank you once again for listening. If you're a new listener, welcome. But if you're returning, hello again. But join us next week because Series 2 continues. It's bigger, it's better, and it is the Football Natter.